What's going on, everyone? I'm Starvin, and today we're cutting YellowEye. Watch your fingers. We're going to go over the common misconceptions and problems that people have later, but first off, we're going to cheek the fish. You start off cutting over the lip and around the cheek, pull it back, cut down to the skin, and you just peel it off. Real easy with it. To handle the throat cheek, it's the exact same way. I bet you didn't know this was here. And then you're going to cut around the collarbone, cutting from the top of the head to the dorsal fin. And then flip the fish over and do the exact same thing on the other side but backwards. Stab the armpit, cut up to the pectoral fin, up to the head, cut out the cheek. I have to say from personal experience, it's really satisfying to cut the cheeks out of rockfish. To take off the head, point the gill plate to the cutting board, snap, and pull. Then flip the fish over and get rid of the head. Split the belly open. Cut from the head to the tail all the way down to the spine. Making sure to use the whole knife and not playing just the tip. Put your knife over the spine and release the tail. Expose and then break the pin bones. Cut around the rib cage. Be very gentle not to cut through it. Release the belly and then cut on top of the anal fin, and you're done. Trim the belly liner off, line up your edges, and move on to the next side. Flip your fish over and start from the tail. Cut from the tail to the head, just like the other side but backwards, using the fins and your bones as your guide. Let a little bit of suction from the bones hold the fish to the table while using minor pressure yourself, and then repeat the same steps as the other side. Release the tail, expose the pin bones, break the pin bones, cut around the rib cage, release the belly, make sure you don't cut through it, and cut on top of the anal fin, and you're done. Sometimes you get hung up on it like this. Just find the bone, cut on top of it, or just break it off altogether. You should basically be able to see through the carcass, and it shouldn't weigh very much. Then trim the belly liner off this side just like the other one. Line your edges up and move on to the next fish. Now it's time to go over the common misconceptions people have while they cut rockfish and why it's so hard for most people when it's really not. First thing, if someone tells you all rockfish cut the same, it's bullshit. If all rockfish cut the same, they would all be called the same thing. That's not how it works. Fish that are 5 pounds and up are the only ones that are really cheekable. Mostly coming from YellowEye, short raker, and rough eye. Others aren't really worth it unless the fish are huge. Halibut's cheeked in a similar way. It's a bit easier and the cheeks are usually thick. The heads are a lot easier to break off than they look. We'll go over why later. The skin on these fish isn't super thick, but it's going to dull your blade out pretty quick. It's inevitable these things are going to make you bleed at some point. Watch your fingers. People say these fish are really bony. They aren't nearly as bad as fish like king clip, turbot, or triggerfish for starters. Most people up in Alaska can't seem to cut around the rib cage for some reason. This skill overlaps with about 80% of your fish cutting life, so please learn how to do this so you don't look dumb. The main benefit of cutting the head off at first is that you always had a flat surface to cut on, no matter which way the fish is laying. The head's also never in the way. There are a couple exceptions to this rule, but we'll go over that in another video. Sometimes when you cheek these fish, you'll get small bone fragments or blood spots from you cutting too deep or them just having holes in their face. Just trim them off. Around the eyes, gills, gill plates, mouth, fins, and scales can all scrape, stab, or cut you, and they will get very infected. Most of the time when you see these fish at the store, they're going to be whole round, guts and gills in. You're going to have to wash them because more than likely they'll be pretty gross. But that's normal. Sometimes when you make the first cut, your knife goes through the fish. I mean like under the bones the wrong way. Keep the bones under the knife and take your time. It happens a few times in this video, but did you see me panic? No. Breaking the pin bones properly cut around the rib cage will take some practice, but it's a lot easier than cutting through the rib cage and then trimming it off later. It's way more efficient, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. Looks good too. The anal fin can be hard to get around sometimes because there's lots of small bones. On the other side, if you can't cut around it, just break it off and trim it off. If the belly looks like shit for whatever reason, just cut it off. Fuck it. A little throat cheek on that one's cute. The second side is much more forgiving when it comes to making mistakes. If you cut through the fish, it's really easy to correct it. Plus, you can get the table to do most of the work for you. When it comes to cutting any kind of fish, let the knife and the table do the hard work. Sometimes things don't come out or come off like they're supposed to or how you want to. All you can do is make it work and move on. Fix your mistakes. Or fix somebody else's. You can cut a lot of different types of fish using the same type of motion I'm using here. But they're all going to be different in their own way, like grouper, snapper, triple tail, drum, bass, etc. Rockfish's percentage yield, or how much meat you can get out of it, varies wildly by the species you're working with. YellowEye is about 38%, black is 40%, dusky is about 35%, tiger is 25%, quillback is 28% or 30%, rough eye is 38%, and then there's many others, but I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. You're aiming for the highest number you could possibly achieve. That is always your goal. This comes in handy when you're doing price adjustments before and after processing. Of course, after trimming off all of the unnecessary bits that you don't want. If you fail to reach your target, either your fish was trash, your weight was wrong, or you suck. If you're unfortunate enough to be stabbed by these fish, what you need to do is you need to wash your hands. You need to squeeze out the blood that's around the wound, elevate it, and ice it. You might have pus that comes out of it. That's fine, that's normal. If it starts to turn really red, or you happen to see a blue vein going from the wound to somewhere else in your body, go to the hospital immediately. It's really not hard to cut these bones out. Just sever the connection between the pin bone and the rib bone and trim it out along with your belly liner. Every family of fish has a different technique for skinning them too. Alright, set your cheeks off to the side, wash your table, and let's start skinning fish. You start by cutting down to the skin through the tail, and then you're basically just trying to peel the skin from the meat with the knife all the way down. Angle your knife into the cutting board. Don't try and saw through the skin, or else you're going to be causing yourself a lot of frustration. If you use your hand to skin rockfish fillets, you're fucking dumb. Finalize all your edges, make sure they're all lined up. Get the random bits of stray bone off the side like I did here. And then go on to your next one. You'll notice how I'm using the back of my knife to get all the debris off the table. That's normal. It's a flat edge and I'm clearing off a flat surface. It makes sense to do it. The technique I use to skin rockfish I call the shimmy. Basically what you're doing is you're shimmying the knife and the skin back and forth just to peel the skin off the fish. That's the simplest way I can explain it. It takes a little bit of practice, but you'll get the hang of it. As you can see, it's not perfect, but nobody really is. That little bit right there is fine. The little bit of white membrane, that's just what was holding the skin onto the meat. That's fine to have on there. It cooks away. Let's finish this off and I'll show you the final step. I flip the back of the fillet up like that so I can see what I'm doing. Washing a fish, get the extra scales and bullshit off is a required step for me when it comes to most white fish. Other than that, it's determined by a by breed, by condition, by need basis. And finally, consistency is the only way you'll be able to fly through this shit like me. Subscribe if you learned something.